Today, welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab. Today I'm on version 9.4. They just updated again a couple days ago, so I have the latest version. And the idea here is just to show you the tools in Photolab, the general workflow when you're editing pictures, or at least how my workflow, and how to use some of the tools. So every 2 or 3 photos, I like to stop and answer any questions in the chat section. So if you have any questions about any of the decisions I made or any of the tools that I used, I'll do my best to explain those. And if you want to submit images to the stream for next week, I generally do these every Friday morning for me around 9:30. So there'll be a link in the description below this stream. If you're watching this after, you can submit your images for next week, and I'll be happy to edit those. So also, right now I do have a affiliate links down below for DxO. It's one of the best ways to support the work that I do here, but also there's a 15% discount code. Just use my name, Rob Trek. You'll have the discount code will be down below, so you can just cut and paste it in if you want. But you would just go to robtrek.com/DxO, and then that'll take you to the page, and you can just insert the coupon code there. And it is just for new users only. So if you're upgrading or anything like that, the coupon won't apply. But in any case, good to see everybody. I see Shri is here, Larry, good to see you, Robert, John, Paul, Dan, and Raphael. Awesome. So without further ado, let's get started. Where's photo? Okay, I need to open up Photolab. I was doing a little editing while this is opening. I was doing a little editing this morning for my next upcoming video on the 6mm fisheye lens. And I can show you that thumbnail. But I was trying a new prop that I got for $10 on my shopping page. And it's still loading, but I ended up I tried to use live composite and then just pop a flash around for light painting. But I ended up having to do a composite because I normally, when I do live comp, I'm shooting a single object, when I'm light painting. But I had 2 objects here, the box and the camera. And I was having trouble light painting those 2 at the same time. I can show you just before we get into editing. But yeah, I tried to do one at a time, but then I would kind of overexpose the box or get shadows not right. So I decided to just do one, then do the other one separately, and then blend them together like that. That turned out to be a lot easier, so I got better lighting on both subjects individually. So anyway, just a little editing I did this morning I thought I'd share. This will probably be the thumbnail for my next video. But let me go ahead and let's go into live. Oh, other live streams. There we go. All right, so I got, I think, actually 9 images. So I need to, because I got 2 of the same. Yeah, this is Shakab's edit, looks like. So let me just put that aside for a second. And we'll start here. This one's here from Stefan. So we have a, we have a lion with, looks like lunch. But this looks a little bit residential farmland. Like, I don't know where this is. Maybe this is at a reserve or something. But, and the images, it looks like you were shooting through some glass, potentially, because the image is just the contrast is very low. I mean, I think there's still plenty of sharpness here, but the contrast is very low. So when I look at an image, when I start, I always think about the composition, you know, if I need to straighten a horizon, for example. So any perspective distortions, white balance, the overall exposure, if I need to do any kind of major brightening or darkening of the image, and then the contrast and white balance. So I see, I get the feeling this is through a piece of glass because the contrast is a little bit low, because this is an R7 with a really good lens, an L lens from Canon. So it should not be this low contrast. Anywho, Raphael says, this from the zoo. Is this your photo, Raphael? I'm just curious because the name is a little different. It says Stefan here. Okay. So first thing I always do is I apply basic preset, which is basically optical corrections and denoising, which are the signature technologies for DxO. And okay, so it's not yours. Okay, yeah, the names are very different. So, but you never know. And right away you can see it did make a little improvement. Like I got rid of some vignetting, and it's just a tiny bit sharper. Now, composition-wise, I think I'm going to try and minimize this whole area back here and just maybe give an illusion, if possible, of not being in a fence. I'm not crazy about the chainsawed logs back here either, but that's a little better. I might be able to come in even a little tighter, and I do need a slight horizon correction. And then I can come in a little tighter. And I'm just going to use simple rule of thirds and put the line right here in the crosshairs. And I think that's pretty good right there. And I need to make the lion stand out a little more, so I'm going to add a little light and color. So I can probably just use the AI tool. I'll just point to it there and just give it a little bit of light. So I'll start with the highlights, then we'll go into the midtones and shadows. And I like to keep a straight line when I do the selective tones here. Okay, let me escape here, and let's see, if I hit the escape key, that'll take me out of the local adjustments. But I think, let me just turn that on and off. So that's without that minor adjustment, and that's with it. So I think that's, yeah, that's a lot better. Now I'm going to add some micro contrast. Maybe a touch of clear view. And I'm starting to see a little bit of a green tint here. So I'm going to have to adjust the white balance. But let me crank up the vibrancy a bit and just give the tiger just a little more color, maybe some saturation. Okay, so there's definitely some green tint. So I'm going to go back and hit the white balance. And I'm just going to pick the white fur right in here, maybe. Ooh, it's very, it made it, there we go. Very good. And, okay, I'll leave it there for now. But I may do some more white balance work. All right, the grass, I want to add a little bit of texture, or not texture, but a little bit of dynamic range back here, meaning just make it darker or brighter. So let me try with something darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a linear gradient, or what do they call this? A control line. I still use Lightroom terms from time to time because I use Lightroom for like 8 or 9 years, almost exclusively. So let's crank up the Luma a little bit. And when I use the Chroma and Luma mass selectivity sliders, I try to minimize this to just, 5 or 10. Okay, didn't quite get rid of the masks. There's a little bit of overlap here, so I'm going to try and I'm going to hit the brush tool and click on subtract, and I'm just going to brush around the line a bit just to minimize the effect on there. Okay, I'm going to go back to this linear gradient and just smooth it out a bit more by stretching the diameter here, or not diameter, but the length. Oops, okay. So now that I've done that, let me think. I think I want the background to be a little darker. Let's just try a linear pool. Yeah, not bad. Getting a little bit of haloing because I didn't mask it quite as much. All right, instead of a linear pull, let's just pull the blacks. And then we'll do the shadows. And again, I'm going to try and keep a straight line. And we'll push the highlights a bit. And let's just keep working that angle. Okay, I think that's better. That looks a little more natural. Okay, good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this brush tool. Let me see. Maybe add it back in. See if that worked. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit back in up here. So I'm just getting a little bit of a halo. Okay, that's good. Didn't mean to do a submask. All right, there's a helicopter flying over. It's really loud. Hold on. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's really distracting. I live like a mile from an Air Force base, so there's helicopters and occasionally jet fighters that go over my house at very low altitude, and it's so loud. All right, I think we're good here. Let me go back to the lion, and I'm going to add a little more light. Let's just do a linear push like that. Okay, just a tenth. A little bit more clear view. And okay, I'm going to warm the tiger up a bit. Not that much, sorry. Let's just go up about 200 Kelvin. And let's try and get rid of some of that green a little bit. So we were at 41, 46, 51. I think right there looks good. All right, now let's work on the eyes. So I'm just going to zoom in, and I'll use a control point for the eyes. And I like to just go a little bit outside the eye itself and just brighten that whole area. So we'll just add a tiny bit of shadow. And then clear view to make it a little bit glossy. And some micro contrast. And then I can push the shadow a little more. And let's give it a little vibrancy, just to make the eye stand out. And sometimes I like to touch on the nose. Let's see what happens. Let's just give the nose the same treatment. So just by clicking the control point in new places, it'll use the same exact settings. Okay, how about the ears? The ears are kind of covered by fur, so we'll leave that out. I think what I might do, I'm going to make a new control point just for the face. Oops, I have to zoom. Where's... Oh, that's a brush. My bad. Hold on. Control point. And let's just push the midtones a bit. Okay. Okay, and I think I can crop in a little tighter. I normally don't like to make geometry changes after I do the local editing, but I'm just going to come in a bit tighter. And just keeping that crosshairs right on the lion's face. There we go. And then I'm going to adjust that control line. Let's just bring it in a bit more. Maybe. And then I'm going to cool it off a little bit. Whenever I make something darker, I like to just take a little bit off on the white balance as well. Just make it a little cooler. Then I'm going to have to go to this brush and just, oops, wrong one. Hold on. This brush here. Oops, why is that not doing what I thought? Oh, I got to add a little bit. Yeah. Just going to add a little bit back in. Again, because the halo is a little bit of haloing. Maybe use a slightly smaller brush. I think there's just some light grass behind them too. That's making it look a little bit, let me see. Yeah, it's a little bit of grass, but I think I'm making it too dark. So let's just not do that. There we go. But what I will do is just add a little bit of light in the front. So we'll make a new control line. Let's try some highlights and shadow. And midtones. Actually, not that much, but I'm going to give it a little warmth. When I add light, I like to just make it a little warmer. Let's take out some, the green. Maybe shift it just a little bit there. Okay, and I think I can be a little bit off on this. What if I go this way? Okay. Now, like I said, it's a little bit soft. What are we? We're at 1/500th. Let's see. I'm going to try and improve the sharpening here. So I'm going to open up my loop tool. And let's go to 400%. And I'm going to go over to my detail panel. And let's push the optimization up. It's not doing much there. Let's try the radius on the unsharp mask, and then we'll increase the intensity. Okay. I'm going to need a pretty good radius on this. Okay, that's good. And then let me look at this grassy area. Off, on, okay, not bad. What I might do is, how about this side? Okay, let me just push the threshold up just a tiny bit. Let's try about 10 on the threshold. Okay, good. I think that works. Let's go ahead and export this. I wonder if I should do maybe a little bit of vignette as well. So I'm going to open a control point, start a new mask. We'll put a control point right on the lion. And then I'm going to set the chroma and luma to 0. Invert this control point. And then let's do it the same way. We'll bring the blacks in first. And then maybe the shadows a little bit. Okay, good. Let's export that. Original folder. So when you export as JPEG, you know, just do 100%. You can select your folder. ICC profile, I'm going to change this to sRGB because I don't know what profile this was shot with. Usually in camera you can choose sRGB or Adobe, but if you're going to export to JPEG, you want to use sRGB. Okay, I think we're good. And I can see the progress here. I can click on this. And the first image sometimes takes a little longer than some subsequent images, and depending how much AI I used, it might take a little longer, but generally, yeah, 15 to 20 seconds is the timing on mine. So let's go ahead and reset. And now I want to compare the original, because I just reset all my edits, to the output. So I'm going to set this as use image as reference. And then I'm going to select the output here, which is the JPEG. Now I'm going to hit the F9 key and just do a side-by-side. So yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Considerable crop and some white balance adjustments because there's a very strong green tint overall. And then just darkening the background and adding a little vignette. So let's do a slider and see how if I was able to help with some of the fine details. Actually, split view might be better. So a little bit. If I punch in, I'm like at 160%. I got the perceived sharpness back anyway. I think that's pretty good. I did make the background a little busy, so what I'd have to do is just do a little bit of masking to keep the background nice and smooth. But overall, I think we got a lot of the detail back. And now you can't tell so much that this was inside of a fenced area or just outside of a fenced area. And it doesn't look like you're shooting through a piece of glass because the contrast is a lot better. So there we have it. Final edit. Very good. Thank you, Stefan, for sending that one. Okay, tomorrow's sphere. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to hit the F9 key to bring my editing panel back. So we have kind of a seascape with some flowers here. Definitely a horizon needs to be straightened. You can see it's crooked. So first let's do a basic preset. And let's click on horizon. Okay, the auto horizon did a pretty good job. Looks like it was a little bit too much, so I'm going to back this off and just eyeball it. That looks pretty good. And let's see. The overall composition, I think we have more clouds than we need, so I'm just going to crop this down. Let's try 16 by 9 and just balance it vertically. Okay, so now I'm going to try and balance it just a little bit horizontally, because I don't know if I need this big stone over here. Let's see how that looks. No, it's a little bit too heavy up front. So let's go back out. Okay, that feels pretty good. All right, from here, I'm going to try and so we have a little bit of yellow back here and here. There's no yellow here. Let me just level just a little bit more. I'm going to make this smaller. Sometimes when I look at it smaller, I can see the overall balance better. So I think that's good. Wow, this is a Pentax MX1. That's really cool. That is a cool little camera. Let me just eyeball the black and white. Ooh, I like that. Because my problem is the yellows here. Let me look at black and white again. Of course, this looks like winter now. And this overlapping here. I mean, I don't want to overthink it, but feel like black and white because I'm having a hard time with these yellows right in here. Let me exaggerate the yellow orange area and just I'm having trouble balancing the colors. And when I say balance the colors, it's hard to explain, but somehow these yellows just don't fit the scene for me. So I think I'm just going to go with black and white. And I can look at balanced and strong. I like a faded look. But I like this dramatic black and white too. So what I might do, let me just start with balanced, and then I'll add a little drama with some local adjustments. So let's start with the sky. Might be able to just AI that. Yeah, we can just AI the sky and add some clear view. And then let's push the highlights a bit and the midtones. And just keep that line straight. Okay. So, yeah, that looks good. And let's go over to the color panel. And down here we have, I don't use this very often, but the channel mixer. See if we can brighten up the reds and yellows a bit. Meaning, you know, the little flowered areas. I might have to work a little more on that with some local. So let's just use the AI. Just click here, here, and we'll just do a, oh, sorry. I'll do this a better way. Hold on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over. So I'm going to use the AI tool, but this time I'm going to hold the Shift key. So what that's going to allow me to do is select multiple things with AI and edit them all. See how they stack on top of each other as submask? That way I can just use the slider and brighten them all at the same time. Put a clear view, some micro contrast. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, let me go back to the light panel. If I reduce the contrast or increase it, I think that's good. Okay. See where we're at. Whoops. We're going to compare with there's some flowers down here I missed, but that's okay. I think I can ignore that one. All right, let's just do a little bit of light painting with some control points. So I'm going to go in here. Let's make that smaller. I'm going to look at the darker areas, or areas that I want to be darker. So we'll just pull the blacks in a bit. Okay, let's work with the highlights. Make a new control point. Let's just use a brush. So I'm gonna, yeah, I got the flow at 25. Let's just do a quick swipe here and push the highlights. Okay. I'm gonna expand this a bit. Let me drop the flow down to about 10, give or take. And just kiss the top of this grass. And I can make the brush bigger or smaller by holding the control key and rolling the mouse on my wheel. So I can just actively adjust the brush size as I'm. And since I set the flow, you know, very low here, I can just brush over just a little bit at a time until it gets to the brightness that I want. And I can add a little bit. I need one right here, pretty striking. Okay. And maybe here. Just a little bit here. You get a bigger brush. I just need a little bit more in here. Then a little bit more in here. And then very fine line up here. And then a fine line right there. Right there. Right there. A little bit more. Just to separate this landscape a little bit so it looks like there's layers here. Oops, let me zoom in a little bit. I just want to create a little bit of a layering. Okay. A little bit right here and here. Okay, one more brush. And I'm just going to make this area a little bit darker. Just a little bit right there. Okay, I'm going to call it there. So let's export that. Oh, Bam Semcamp is here, and Heather, good to see you guys. Good morning. All right, let's go ahead and reset, and we'll do a side by side. Whoops. Set that as the reference, and then we'll select the output. Okay, so here's my edit on the left, obviously. Here's the original on the right. Now, if I was going to do this in color, I'd need to spend a lot more time because I just kind of like the black and white on this image. And it's primarily because this yellow. It's just, I don't know, it's just weird to me. But, you know, making it black and white, you get rid of all the color distractions. But I think that works. Okay. So there's the final edit. All right, let's go to the next one here. And this one is from John. I think I saw John in here earlier. Let's do a basic preset. I've seen this pub before, if it's a pub or this restaurant. Yeah, I remember this, and I remember the King William, yep. But this time it's a little off to the left with the bikers. So they must be coming off this street here and coming in. But this guy's a little bit out of position. And this white background with the white shirt is not working. But what I like here is the arrow pointing this way and the bikers going the opposite way. So again, let me do a basic preset. Maybe a perspective correction. Let's try the auto, see what happens. Yep, that looks good. It's a little bit off. Let's just straighten it a little bit manually. I'm just looking at the telephone booth here. So the telephone booth this would be a nice anchor for the building, but I think in this scene, it's more of a distraction. Let me think about, I think this line right here, or this line. I'm always thinking about my corners. So if I can get a line in this corner and balance the scene, that would be perfect. Give a little bit of space. Oh, we need a little bit more tilt. This building might be crooked though. I don't really have enough foreground though. So let me try this line and come in over here. Okay, we're almost there. A little bit too much on the left. So I'm going to have this guy right on the rule of thirds. The guy in the middle. Now this cone. Let me just take this cone out. Bring this down. I want to maintain this line going into the corner. Okay. All right, good. Now, believe it or not, this lens looks really good today. Because Because I know I've complained about this 23 on your Z6 a few times, not being sharp, but it looks really good today. There's a little bit of motion blur in here, but because your shutter speed is nowhere near fast enough for people moving on a bike. But everything else looks really good. Okay, now how do I need to think about just, okay, so it feels balanced. It's just a matter of how am I going to use these textures and colors. Let me just go back to my local adjustments, and we'll do a tight luma here. And let's go with clear view and micro contrast. Or if we do the opposite, soft, no. Let's ramp up the texture. Okay. And then let's work on the individual bikers. So I'm just going to use a control point. One here, maybe on the back of her head or his head. And just add a little bit of light. Need some shadow. Okay. Let's do a control line next for the street. And I'm going to put this down here. We'll add a little bit of tightening on the masking. And let's pull the street in a bit. Okay. Go back to the buildings. If I make those a little darker. Okay. And let's go to the global and just add a little bit back in. Back to the street. Let's try a little bit of clear view. Yeah, there we go. Pull the blacks in more. Okay. The masking. Let me just touch it here. Another one. The chroma, let me see. Okay, right there. All right, now, the other thing I thought was interesting was this little beer sign. So let's add some clear view and just make it stand out a little bit there. Then I'm going to just darken the windows on the building. Let's use the AI mask. Bang. Shift, like that. And we'll shift. We'll just add some clear view. Just pull those in a bit. Okay, good. The only other thing that's bothering me is this truck. Try the AI mask again. Take that truck. Let's see if we can temper that a little bit. Okay, so let me back this off a bit. Let me go back to the bikers. Let me see. This one. I wonder if I pull this in a bit more. Where's here? These control points. Let me just straighten this line out a bit. Okay, I think I'm good now. How about a little bit of warmth, just a touch? Right there. Leave that alone. Okay, this sidewalk's just a little bit bright, so I'm gonna just use a control point there. Tighten up the luma, I'm sorry, the chroma and the luma. Let's just pull that in a bit. All right. Overall, the white balance is fine, but what if we want a little bit warmer? Okay, the sky, the tree, I think it's not much I can do there. All right, I'm going to call it there. So let's export that. And Raphael says, I wonder if the line picture has issues with white balance. A little bit. Hopefully I adjusted that earlier when I was working on it. And Heather's here. Can you do anything with the truck to make it less prominent? Yeah, I was just, like I said, I just kind of darkened it. So it is a little darker now than the biker by pulling in the highlights. And then Shaz says, the luminous around the blue rider face seems a bit too much. It looks about right. Looks about right. Maybe earlier in the edit, maybe it was too bright. I did bring down the overall brightness of the image. Okay, let's compare. So I'm going to reset and use this as the reference. All right, so here's the full original, unedited on the left, and my edit on the right. So yeah, I think the crop works, and it brings it into really just what's going on with the bikers. And then I just tried to balance, the rest of the lighting so that they stand out a little more. Because it's a cloudy day, the lighting's very, very flat. So everybody's just the same luminance. So I tried to brighten up the bikers a bit, reduce the brightness, in the rest of the frame, including the street. That was a big one. And then brighten up this one sign with the arrow pointing the other way, just a little bit of a juxtaposition and direction, right? So I think that works well. And then, of course, just bringing out the textures, in the background. That also helps to separate the bikers from the background just by making the background more crispy. But the bikers are slightly blurred because there's just a little bit of motion blur there. So if we look at the image as a whole, I think that came out pretty good. And then just making sure this line leads into the corner, I think was the other thing I did on the composition. All right, very good. And I see Intrigue is here. Good to see you. And Heather said, I'm always amazed how much a few minutes of your work improves them. Oh, thanks. I try. DxO does a lot of the heavy lifting though, right? All right, so we have, this one is from William. So let's do a basic preset. This could be a sunrise, or more likely a sunset. Just because, I don't know if a sailboat would get that far out in the morning, but it might. I see them out there sometimes. Let's fix the horizon first. And then what I'm going to do is just amplify the light coming this way. I don't think I need to do much with the sky, but let me just take a quick look. The skies and the colors are fine. Maybe, yeah, just add some clear view and micro contrast. Just give it a little more drama. And then let's use a brush. Make a new mask. And we'll just come in. Just make a triangle. All right. Let's try the highlights and the midtones and the shadows. Okay. I'm going to hit the Alt key and just kind of fix that little bit of spill. Okay. All right, let's add a little bit more here. Again, my flow is at 12%, so I can just kind of add this in very gradually. And let's just spread it out a little bit uneven. A little bit on that side, a little bit on this side. Let's take a little bit off here. And let's spread it out a little bit more up here. Get a little softer brush with less feathering. Okay. Okay, that might be too much, so I'm just gonna just pull it off, maybe add some clear view. Let me see where I'm at. Oh, let's add a little warmth since I brightened it up. Maybe back this off a bit. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, I should have done a composition, but let me try. I'm going to try 16 by 7. And just bring this down a bit. Could do a horizontal, but maybe a 5x4. Vertical, let's see that. Nope. I think the horizontal look better. Unless I do a really narrow vertical. There's a couple of options for vertical. Let me back off the vibrancy. And then let's add a little bit of I just want to make this a little darker. See my mask. I'm going to reduce the luma mask in this case and chroma. So I want this to really spread in. I need some okay. Still doesn't look right though, the composition. Let's try 16:9 horizontal again. Let me go back to this. Just add another touch. Okay. Oh, Bamsen says try 1x1. I can. That might be the best. Let's center that. No, I like the horizontal better. But anyway, you guys saw a few options there, right? I'm going to call it there. And then Heather asks, is the Alt key like a minus of the selection? Yes. So I'll explain that in a second. So we'll use this as a reference. Oh, did I reset it? Let's reset it. And then select the output. Okay. So yeah, straighten the horizon, crop in, and then just add a little bit of light on the water here. That's about it, really. You know, there's a couple of options for vertical or horizontal, square. It's all very subjective. I think ultimately I would go with this horizontal, but I did like the other crops as well. But I think this works. This works best for me. And other than that, I think it looks pretty good. Not a lot of editing to that one, actually. It's mostly about the crop. I think just cropping it is like 90% of the work. Paul liked the vertical better. Yeah, the vertical wasn't bad either. But let me explain to Heather about the what was the question? The alt minus key. So so here this is with no edits, right? So I'm gonna just use a let's do a control line like this, and I'm gonna darken it a lot, right? So if I want to erase a little bit along the top here, I can click on the brush and I can hit the Alt key, and that will subtract, right? Like that. Or I can just click on the minus up here, and that's the same thing. But you can see the Alt key toggles it, or you can click it up here. But the Alt key toggles between plus or minus. So if I'm on minus now, because I clicked it here, if I hit the Alt key, it's going to go positive. If I'm on the plus here, and I hit the Alt key, it's going to go negative. Or I can put it back. And then also you'll notice that the flow and feathering and opacity are independent. So right now I got flow at 12%, but I've hit the Alt key, you can see the flow is now at 38%. But I can set that to 100 and the feathering. And if I let go of the Alt key, it goes back to the positive, which is, you know, very low flow of 12. But the Alt key, the negative, is super strong. So just pay attention to that when you're using the Alt key or switching between plus and minus, that your flow and feathering and opacity are at the levels that you want for each one. Okay, let's go to this one here from Hans. And we'll do a basic preset. And let's do a perspective. Again, I want to get all the geometry. Hold on, let me turn that off. Oops. And then back on. Okay, I'm going to just back it off a little bit. Okay, that's good. That looks a little more natural. It was looking a little top heavy if I did a complete perspective correction. So I'm just going to back it off. So we do have a very high dynamic range scene here, right? Very bright here and very dark in the foreground. So and then we have this building here on the right. I might crop that out. Let me just see what it looks like cropped out. Oops. Sorry, I gotta check my message here. Spam. Okay, that's not bad. Let me just push the shadows real quick. And then I'm going to try and balance the scene. So I'm just pushing the shadows so I can see everything and help me to compose it. There's a line here, but I can't get that in the frame unless I really come in tight. I need to. I like this corner right here. But the subject here is actually this building. Let me go back. Or we can get the corner of the whole block. All right, I think that works. So basically I just put the third line right on the front corner of this building. Okay, so I don't need the shadows up anymore. All right. I'm not sure. I think a black and white again. And black and white, I just prefer black and white with these very contrasty scenes. So let's get the sky taken care of. Like that. And if we select this building, no, the AI is not going to select that building. So let me use the rectangle. I just need this building to stand out a little more. Okay. Some clear views, some micro contrast. All right. Let's do this other building. Let's give it a little bit of life. Okay. And this building, let's just temper the highlights a bit. Micro contrast. And clear view. All right, now the street, I want to bring out these lines. I'm not sure. I'm going to hit the shift key. Looks like I was trying to actually, there we go. Let's, did I, oh, shoot. Let me make a new mask. I actually included all these lines with the building. So I'm gonna highlight mask. I'm just gonna move these into 5. I meant to make a new mask. Now I have to do this manually. So you can move submasks into another mask area. So I'm just moving things out of mask 4 into my new mask. What is it? Yeah, that can go up here. All right. So we'll push that, push this, push the shadows. Is that working or not? Oh, there. Maybe not that much. Okay. That helps a little. All right, let's do a control line. We'll just draw it to match that shadow. We'll put this line in the black area, and then we'll tighten up the luma. Okay. I just want to even out the lighting a little bit. Okay, let me see where I'm at. Okay. All right, we're almost there. Let me go back to the building. And I want this to be crispier. Is there anything in this building? The louvers are mildly interesting. I'm gonna hit the shift key. I just want to bring some of these louvers in. Okay. So pull the highlights down. Some clear view, micro contrast. Okay, globally, and let me just add a little bit more light. Okay, in the street. Maybe I did too much there. There. All right, I'm gonna call it, so we'll export to disk. Original folder, okay, that looks good. All right, let's go ahead and reset that. Set that as the reference, compare it to my edit, which came up over there. All right, so yeah, this one needed a lot of work in the black and white area because the tonal range is so wide. But I didn't want to lose that contrast, so I added contrast in basically in the building. But yeah, I think that works pretty well as a black and white. And then I didn't go full on 100% perspective correction because it made the building look a little bit top heavy because it brought the top forward too much to my eye. So I just backed it off a little and then just brought the sky in a bit. And that's it. So I think that came out pretty good. So there's the final edit. And then yeah, cropping out that building that was on the right. You know, this thing. That just added a lot of weight to the right side of the photo. Okay. And BamSim says, I send my edit in of the sunset. Okay, we'll take a look. And then Paul says, had some good weather here on Wednesday, so I took a break for my macro shooting and got out for some birding. It's 0 degrees though. Yeah, if you're talking about 0 Celsius, yeah, that's cold. We were below 0 Celsius here this morning. It was 22 Fahrenheit when I looked at it around 8 o'clock this morning. A couple hours ago. I think it's warmed up. Now it's saying, yeah, now we're probably right at 0 Celsius. So it's a little bit of a cold snap. These today and tomorrow, well, yeah, yesterday and today were kind of cold. Like we were at 0 or below 0 Celsius. But I think tomorrow we'll be up above 0 by afternoon. Might snow tonight. All right, let's do the next one here. And we have a great egret. Okay. From Paul. Oh, so is this your one from yesterday? What's the shot date? The 14th. Yep. Or day before yesterday. I don't know. Your time zone is a little bit different, but about yesterday. This looks great. So, man, you got a 150 to 400. I forgot about that. You rarely send images in with that lens. But I think let's apply basic preset. This image, it doesn't need much. Do a basic preset. Let's select the bird. And I'm going to brighten it up by about 1 stop. And then just pull the overall exposure by 1 stop. Maybe not quite. Let's do it using the sliders. Whoops, too much. So I want to maintain a little bit of the light on the trees. Maybe some clear view. Oh, all right, that's good. And then back to this. Wait a minute. Yeah, back to the bird. Let's just temper the highlights just a bit. About there. And then we'll add a vignette. Up there. So we'll invert this control point, set the chroma and luma to 0. And let's just pull, just do a little bit here. Okay. Okay, let me go back to the bird. think I need to just do a little bit of local here. Need to pull the highlights in a little bit more in the front. Okay, let's work. Maybe we'll use the loop tool. See how we're doing. Oh man, you're making me want this lens. Okay, let's work on the sharpening a bit right there. Back to the detail panel. Lens optimization, intensity. Let's add a little bit. Oh, not that much. Let's try detail. And a little bit on sharp mask. Right about there, looks good. It's killing me. The price has gone up so much on that lens. I mean, it's always been out of reach for me, but now it's like beyond my wildest dream now. Oh, a little bit of haloing here. So let me, yeah, it's my unsharp mask. All right, so let's back this off a bit. It's my pixel, my radius. Okay. Okay, that's about right. All right. I mean, the eye is bright because the sun is right on it. The colors are good. Maybe just a little bit cooler overall. About 5,200. Maybe 5,000. Okay, and then let's just fix the talons a little bit. I don't know if AI is going to get it. Yeah, the AI got it. All right, good. A little bit in the shadows and some clear view and micro contrast. Okay, good. All right, and then my crop, I don't think I cropped anything. Maybe just a little bit tighter. Just put the eye on that thirds. Maybe give it a little more lead. What if we I just want it to have a little more lead. That looks weird to me. 3x2 maybe. A little bit less. All right, let's export that. Oh, you got the teleconverter. Oh, I see. It says width here. Oh, I have the 1.4. Okay, did that export? Yeah, so let's reset and compare. All right, so I brightened the bird up, but also darkened the background, plus a little bit of vignette, which is hard to see, but it does make a subtle difference. And I think, let's just look at the fine detail and see how we did. Yeah, we did good. Really, really crisp here. Tiniest bit of haloing here. I should probably turn off the unsharp mask, but it added a little bit of contrast here to the beak and the eyes when I was looking at it through the loop. But yeah, it did an excellent job. Let's look at the wing. Yeah, perfect. Beautiful detail on the feathers. So yeah, that's an amazing lens. I'm so jealous. All right, very good, nice. All right, let's see. We have here, this is from Shikabe. And yeah, I think we just need to bring out the eye, maybe temper this green in the front, and that's about it. So let's apply basic preset. And maybe just put that eye on the third. I don't know if that, yeah, that kind of works. Let's go to the local adjustments. The white balance, I might adjust that later, but let's see if we can get this bird. And add this bird. And we'll just give them a little more light. Maybe temper the highlight. Now I'll come back to the highlights, but let's just add a little more light and some vibrancy for the beak. Okay. And then let's do the next AI tool. Let's see if we can temper this green mass here. Right about there. I just want it to be not so prominent. Okay. That works. And we'll add that to it. Maybe let's use a brush. We'll do a masking brush. I just want to temper a little bit here. Maybe desaturate it too. Okay, good. Let's brighten the eye. Maybe about there. Good. Some clear view, micro contrast. And a little vibrancy maybe too. Let's warm it up a tad. Okay, good. The beak, I'm just going to give it a little clear view. Maybe some micro contrast as well. And then I'm going to temper the highlights on the chest. Give it some micro contrast. All right, let's darken the background a bit more. Maybe I'll just drop a couple of control points with a strong chroma mask. Yeah. Something like that. Up here. Down here. Let me go back to the eye. And I'm going to do a little more. Just brighten it. Ooh, not that much. Might need some more clear view. Brighten it some more. Okay. I think we're good. So we'll export that. Look at these little yellow strands coming out. Such an interesting bird, whatever it is. Let's reset. Set that as the reference and then compare it to my edit. So original on the left, my edit on the right. Oh, I should have warmed it up a little bit, but I think it looks pretty good. Mainly it's just bringing out the eye. That was the main thing. And a slight crop. But I think that looks pretty good. So we can just punch in and see the details again. And it's just amazing, you know, what DxO can do sometimes. I mean, it's super crisp. I think it looks really good. All right. So that's the final edit. Okay, we got one here from Larry. Picture of a door. Okay. Basic preset. And let's do a 1x1. And just come in right here. I don't think it needs a horizon straightening. It needs a little bit of, just a little bit of a push though. So let me reset it. And I'm just going to manually shift it to the left. Just a bit. Because you see how the front of the door down here is not, it's not level. So I'm looking at this like it's the horizon. So I just want the front of the door to be a little straighter. Like that. Okay. All right, and then the square crop, because I don't need the sky or this corner. And then we'll balance this. Let's just balance the door in the center third. Okay, that's good. So I got this wall in the left third, the door centered on that third line, and then, yeah, pretty decent spacing all the way around. I don't have a corner here, but I think that'll work. Maybe I just need a little bit more top. Right there. Okay. Let's add a little bit of exposure. Not sure about color, black and white. Let me see what black and white looks like. I think the color's fine. We just have to separate these reds and make this more gray down here, because this pink stone or cement, clay, whatever, is casting some heavy pink tones or peachy tones around. So I just want to separate or get rid of that. So let's see, use the AI to select the sidewalk there. Maybe add a little bit of the front. And let's just pull. And that's not working. Maybe desaturate a little bit. Right there, and some clear view. And some micro contrast. All right, let's see if the AI will pick out the wood here. Maybe the rectangle tool. Not quite. So let's do it manually. Select that and that and that. So I want these to be more red. But let's add a little clear view and micro contrast. And maybe pull back these other colors a bit. I don't know if I got it. And then let's push the reds and the orange. Oh. Okay. All right, this door. Let's try the AI tool again. Bit there. And that. Let's make the door a little bit brighter. Give it some micro contrast. Let's go globally. Let's just add micro contrast to the whole scene. Okay. A little push in the shadows. Midtones, highlights. And a little bit of warmth. Okay. Is anyone else having a problem with audio? Because everything looks good on my end. Okay, thank you, Larry. Yeah, audio's good. It's good over here, as far as I can tell. Let me see where we're at. Oops. Compared to this. I think that's all I need to do. Okay, so let's export to disk. And this could look good as a black and white too, but it's already pretty monochromatic. It's just peach. But if I were to do black and white, I'd probably do something like that as well. But that's not what I did. So let's reset and compare. To my edit. So yeah, the original image, there's a lot of things up here. Architecturally speaking, it doesn't really give me any context to the scene or the building itself. So, and yeah, I'm glad you captured a door though. I really like front doors or main entrances. This looks like a substantial entrance to the place. Maybe not the front door, the main entrance, because there's no sign or anything, but it is a respectable entrance to this building. And so that's what I did. I just made that the focus of the image, is the door. Because here, in this image, the door is not very dominant in the frame, right? But over here, it's definitely the dominant structure. And then I just had to kind of get rid of some of the little bit of color casting I was getting, you know, everywhere else in a couple other spots. And that's it. Okay. Last one here from Robert. And this was from your trip to, I forget where you said you went. But that's awesome. Wow. Oh, with your new XE5, no less. All right, let's do a basic preset. And Ellie's getting excited about something. What is it, girl? Go get him. Okay. Wow, this is a tough one. What do we got down here? So I applied a preset, but I need to make a little of adjustment. Over here, I have a D prime for X-trans sensors, so I'm going to shift to that. That's the only difference between my normal preset and working with Fuji, is I have to make sure I click on that. Oh, Patagonia. Robert's still here. Okay. And yeah, Heather, I can, what time is it? Yeah, I got time. Well, we'll see how long this one takes. So I need to maybe bring a little drama back in the sky if I'm going to use it. But I don't know. I like the dust being kicked up down here. What I might do is just go right and just not even count the sky. Or maybe go vertical. Because there's nothing here that's that interesting. Alexa, show me the driveway.
Okay. Opening the driveway camera.
Let me try. Try vertical. I might be getting a delivery. That's why I'm expecting a couple of things. No, I don't see any delivery truck in my front yard. Okay, Alexa, stop. All right, let's do this. That works better. Because this way we don't lose any of the depth, but we get rid of kind of all this other stuff. I like this side of the mountain though. I wonder if I can keep that. because this gives some context of this hillside, how steep this cliff is. So let's try 4x3. Okay, that's a little better. I want to keep this hillside. I like these flowers and things. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to ramp up the color in the foreground. The question is, do I spot it or do I just do a linear control line? Let's try a control line. We'll pull back the chroma a bit and let's just crank the vibrancy up and see what happens. Is this gray or is this purple? Okay, let me go back. Let's turn the chroma off and get kind of aggressive with the saturation. But I want to let me go into purple. So I'm seeing a purplish. It might be just grays and blues, but let me spread that out. And the oranges. Okay, good. All right, let's add, might be a bit too much. Right about there. Okay, let's just do a little bit of light painting now. And let's tighten up the Luma mask right here and here. Just give a little bit more. Just want a little more shine here. Let's see. Okay, and then there's a lot of dust in here. I'm going to try and maybe accentuate that. Just reduce the contrast to make it dustier. So maybe about there. Okay. And all right, I think we just need to temper the sky a bit. So do a control line. Actually, the AI is so good now, I can just use it. I can just do that. Give it a little bit of clear view, pull the highlights. And then maybe a micro contrast. And desaturate a little bit. The blue's a little bit too strong for me. Because it doesn't go with the mountains. With respect to, it's a little bit hazy here. I don't want this to be a rich blue when it's all hazy here. All right, let's add a little warmth too. Might do that with just Let's use a regular brush. Make sure my flow and feathering is about right. Just want to add a little warmth here. Okay. Let me do it in layers though. So I'm going to subtract. Oh, the flow is too high. Hold on. My negative flow needs to be about that. Okay, let's do perfect. Then a little smaller brush. Just add some layers here. Okay. And then I'm going to back off the... I did a little bit too much on the yellow. Okay. And we'll push the highlights a bit. Let me look at my mask. Need to get rid of some of this. Okay. And micro contrast. Okay. And a little bit more warmth. Okay, let's do the same here. Mask. Yep. A little touch here and here. A little bit there. A little bit more here. A little bit more here and here. And just a touch across. Okay. All right, let's see where we're at. Whoops. Compare to... Okay, we just need a little bit of a touch. Just need to bring some of the shadow back right there. Maybe right there. And there. All right, I'm going to call it there. When that's done, reset. We'll compare to, whoops. Okay, reference and select mine. Okay, so the original was a landscape orientation, right? I decided to go with a portrait orientation, 4:3 crop, although this sensor is natively a 3:2. And I kind of like the horses a little bit off center to the right. And, you know, then that way they're kind of going into the frame, right? And then just some extra, just a little bit more light added here and a little bit of warmth. It's very, very subtle. But when I cropped in, you know, we have now more, you know, it's bigger in the frame. So I just wanted to make sure that, I don't know, I just felt like that helped a little bit. But let's look at the let's look at the finer details here. So the main thing was I wanted to amplify these colors. I didn't do much. Yeah, but it was just enough, I think. You know, the pinks, the yellows, the greens, just a little bit extra. And then if we look at like this rock, you can see that this new DxO module that has the X-trans sensor, we're not getting that worminess sometimes that we used to get when we crop in like this, right? I should have done a little more sharpening though. It's just a little bit soft here because it's probably closer to the corner of the lens. Because when we get more in the center, yeah, it's not soft at all. It's pretty good. So could have done a little bit more with the sharpening. I didn't do any sharpening, but overall, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so let me go to see. Some of you said some more stuff is here, so let me check that. Okay, so one here from Serge. I don't see anything from you, Heather. But let me download. I'll do Serge's and then I do have to go. So download. Download. You're welcome, Robert. I'm glad you like it. You know, if I wasn't like doing 10 images at a time, I'd be able to concentrate on it a little more. Like all of the images, right? You know, I try to get like 90% there and then just enough to give you guys some ideas or some of the tools I used, right? Okay, I think that's it. So let me delete these and go back to the monitor. So let's compare. Let me reset my filter so I can see. One of these is Paul's. Hold on. I think, yeah, this is Paul's edit here on the right. So you did a lot more work on the highlights than I did for the bird. I kept the highlights pretty bright. But then I darkened the background a lot more. And the crop ratio is a little different. So this actually, our edits are very different other than you did brighten up the legs here nicely. And it looks like, yeah, you did a little work on the beak. It's more saturated. Okay. Very subtle differences. But the image was all, it's almost perfect just straight out of camera. And then Shakab sent his edit in. So this is my edit. And this is Shakab's. Wow. Now those are very similar. Very similar crop, but I cropped in a little bit off the right. But yeah, really good edit there, Shakab. I added a little more saturation and a little richer in the eye. But yeah, you darkened the background the same as I did. You tempered this leaf. Not as much as I tempered it a lot, but you did temper the leaf and the foreground highlights and things. So that's a great edit. Okay. And then let's see. Serge sent one in. And whew, all right. So we have a forest scene. Bunch of logs cut here, or branches. So that's interesting. So I think this is a genre that I'm not good at. Forest type scenes. Like capturing images. Serge is so good at this now. So I'm talking about the photography genre, not the editing part is the same for me. When I look at a scene, I'm always looking for contrast, white balance, composition, all that stuff. But capturing the scene, it's really hard to do forest photography. So I think the image is much brighter than it needs to be. So we need to make it a lot darker and make it a little more mysterious because there is sun rays coming in and it's a little bit foggy. So this is probably late morning after a thick fog. It's my best guess. So the question is, where does my eye go? I feel like it goes right here. Let me just... Nah, it's awful. I think that works. Just a little bit tighter. So let me see if I can balance it right about there. Maybe there. So, I'm trying to take a two-dimensional image and make it feel more three-dimensional, right? So I have the foreground here. The midground is sort of this area right here. And then the background doesn't fall off too well because the trees are right here. I think I'm going to go with this. And there's a tree here. So what if I get rid of that tree? We need just a little bit more here. Okay, I'm going to go with this. So let's do a control line. Oops. I need to grab the eyedropper. Let's go into a grayish area. How about this area? Let me see. And then maybe a tighter luminance. Okay. I think that's about what I want. So the question now is, do I do that and add a little warmth to make it more of a sun ray? Or do I go the opposite direction and make it a little more surreal? I think I'll go sun rays. Because it really is kind of a bright scene. So I'm going to do that and that and that. And I did add some warmth. Okay. We'll do that. Now, let's go here to, let's do another control line, but for the leaves, the reds. So I'm going to drop this reds. Need to just a little bit tighter. And just increase the saturation, maybe pull the highlights a tiny bit. And the blacks. And back off the micro contrast. Okay, now let's do a new control line. Same area. But let's back off. Well, maybe not. Let's try. Try that. We'll go up. All right. And then let me go with a brush. 12%. Let me just add a little bit here and here. Where's my feathering? I need more feathering. Okay. Micro contrast. Clear view. A little bit more light on this side. And this side. Okay. Go over here to the white balance. Okay. And then let's just add a little more drama to the scene. Hmm. All right, how are we doing here? Okay, we just need some spots. So that and that. Add a little more brightening in this area. Okay, we're almost there. So back to the light panel. Let's turn the micro contrast way down. Okay. Back this off a little bit. Hmm. Okay. Go to this panel. If I turn off the unsharp mask, where's the just looking for the blur tool. Thought it was right there. Oh, here. Soft focus. And some, let's get rid of this. All right, I think I'll call it there. The color's still not quite right though. Let's see what we have. Ooh, I think I like Portrait 2. Yeah, Portrait 2 I like. All right, I'm going to call it there. So export. All right, Serge, I hope you like it. Dang it. I need some. I just need something else. I forget which. It's this one. It just needs. I just need a little bit more range somewhere. Maybe desaturate a little bit. Okay. We'll call it now. Now I'm going to call it. So we'll use that as the reference. And where did that, there it is. Okay, so the original on the left, here's my edit. The soft focus, that's kind of optional, but I just had to crop in a little bit because this one tree was in the frame, and then this tree right here, it was just kind of messing up the depth a little bit for me. Particularly this tree here. So by getting rid of this tree, now it feels like, you know, this is deeper into the frame. It just feels a little more three-dimensional without a freaking tree right here and then right over here. It just feels like you have to go further back, because if you look at this one, right, your eye can stop here, and that's as deep as the image gets. I guess that's the best way to explain it from my point of view. And if you go this way, this tree kind of stops you pretty hard. I mean, there's a lot of trees up here, but they're kind of skinny and thin. But this one is very dominant. It's straight. It's just a little bit thicker than all the other trees. And then this is a hard stop. So hopefully you can see that your eye kind of flows a little bit more towards the light without this tree and that tree. And that's the reason for my crop. And that's, again, very subjective, right? As is the coloring and editing that I did. But yeah, I think that worked out. That looks pretty good overall from where we started. So let me know what you think, Serge, in the comments when you get a chance to watch. But okay, that's all I have for today. Heather says next week. Okay, we'll do that. And the bird's highlights. You like Paul's highlights, but Rob's background and framing. Okay. Yeah, it's very subtle. I would just have to pull the highlights back a little more. And a little more contrast. But Paul did a great job on the highlights. I agree. He did a really good job with that. Versus mine, right? I mean, I didn't lose any details. I just didn't create enough separation there. But I think the saturation on the beak is a little bit strong for me. And there's kind of a green kind of cast over here in the white balance. So maybe add a little magenta back in too. For my taste, right? Because I can see it definitely on the legs. Okay, and Shri says the green moss is too dark. So, possibly, right? It was tough because the light's coming from here, But I see what you're saying. I probably could have brushed in a little more light. It's too late now because I'm on a JPEG. Where's the original? Here's the original. Let me see if I can bring my edits back in. So we'd have to go back to my brush that I was working with. This one, right? And just push this up a bit more. And then I'd have to pull it back a little bit up here. Oops. Maybe just on the front. Something like that. If that's the moss you're talking about, a little bit there. A little bit behind, like that. So I can go back and light paint. I don't know if that looks, oh, you can't see anything. Sorry. There you go. Anyway, so that's a little bit different than, let's compare it to my original edit. Oops. Use this as a reference. So here I brightened up the moss a little bit on the tree and over here. It helps a little. I'd have to make it a little more green too, because using that color profile I chose, like the Portrait 2, it did take away a little bit of the greens. Because portrait color profiles, they tend to emphasize the tans, right, or the reds, and de-emphasize green and blue. So, but I was kind of going for that look. Okay, sorry about that a couple minutes there where I wasn't sharing the screen. But all right, so I will see you guys again for editing next week, Friday, God willing. But I'll be back this Sunday for a regular photo chat, so I look forward to seeing you all there. You guys have a great rest of your week, a great weekend, a good life. Eat healthy, exercise. I want us all to be together for a long time doing what we love. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you guys again.